I go by Dave Bray USA in the social media circus out there. So add the USA to the end of Dave Bray, rhymes, whatever. But I'm a patriotic entertainer, and I have focused and basically dedicated every song that I have written for the past 7 years has had something to do with fire, police, first responders, military, and the veteran community. And from what I heard coming out of the majority of the space in music, it all seemed kind of cheesy. And I wanted to bring an element of truth from the perspective of a veteran and from a perspective of someone who has seen and done a lot of those things into light, and add an essence of seriousness to that music. And I feel like I did it with the album Music on a Mission.
I love that. Now, have you always been a musician?
So actually a musician, I think you're born as it. I started out in church choir as a kid, school choir, and then from there got into the atypical, between a 15, 16, 17-year-old rock garage band, and then pretty much hung it up through the time in the military. And after I got out was when I really dug into the music side.
How you go from military and now you're a musician. Talk to me about that transitional piece, because those two seem so far apart. Now, you said like it was part of you, but how did you say, this is what I'm going to do? Because it's so different in my mind.
It really, in a way it is. In a way, it's bringing the essence of what you've trained for and learned in the military and in that circle into the music industry. It's just like any other business. You're taking on it from an artistic perspective instead of maybe a widget perspective. But business itself is one of those things that you really have to look at from a military standpoint, I feel, in order for it to be successful. There are musicians in the military, Danny. The Marine Corps has their own band, and there's a bunch of people that really actually get, brought into the military because of their skills. So there are plenty of musicians in there. I feel like the direction I went as far as being a rock artist is a little different, but not so far outside of the curve. A lot of musicians that we know and love are former prior military guys or veterans, and that's Johnny Cash. You look at Elvis served. Willie Nelson was a serviceman. So all these people that are in there's a lot of people in Hollywood. Again, Christopherson was a guy. If you look at his history, just some amazing military people that ended up getting out and getting into music. It's not that far of a stretch when you really bring into the perspective of what you learn and take in as an artist or as a musician, and bring it into the forefront and put it in the forefront of your music. I think that's a great way to continue your service, and that's kind of the way I feel about, again, Music on a Mission, my album, and just continuation of service in general for our veterans. We need men and women who understand what service and sacrifice are in leadership positions in our civilian sector. We need you to be the teachers in our classrooms. We need you to be our coaches and our mentors for these kids. And I think if we can rekindle that service heart that is lost in so many men and women who get out of the military saying, well, I've done my time and I've done my service. No, you swore an oath. That oath is for life, and we want you back in the civilian sector. After all of our taxpayer dollars have trained you, all this leadership, all these great knowledgeable items, get involved with the young Marines, be a mentor, be involved in these kids' lives. We need it now as a country, as a nation, more than anything. It's not even about, for me, selling the album. I would rather you take the album off of my hands and listen to it once, twice, get the idea and pass it along to somebody who needs it. Again, this is a narrated storyteller record. So it's like listening to an audiobook, except for in between the songs, you have the purpose behind the song, why the song was written. There's poetry in between. There's pieces of our American culture that I define and exemplify with the music and the songs. Just for instance, I'll just break one down for you. Amazing Grace, okay? A lot of people have heard the Amazing Grace song. They know it from church or when they were young, but they don't know the entire story about a man by the name of John Newton who was completely wrapped up in the slave trade. He was brought in by his family as to be a privateer to transport slaves back and forth across the Atlantic, until he finds himself in a storm, and he starts to get on his knees and beg for his life and the life of his brothers and sisters who are on board, as well as the slaves on board. God allows that storm to pass, the tempest pass, and he gives his life to Christ. He's then later ordained by the church and becomes one of the biggest, most outspoken Christians in Europe. So it's one of those things that we look at in faith and patriotism, putting them together. I wanted to create an album that was a storyteller record, but I also wanted to give you the songs and the music that were going to give you the goosebumps so that you understood what I was going for.
This is the most unique kind of pioneering album out there that I've never heard of such a thing.
There's really nothing like it. Absolutely. There's nothing, and you can get it for free.
That is putting your money where your mouth is. You're not just, you said you want people to just hear this music, for it to learn from it, for it to touch them, to bring them into that level that maybe they lost, that purpose, that fulfillment. Remember what's inside you, and you are actually doing that. Here you get for free. Like I actually, as I told you before, I stalked you a little bit before I wanted, you know, before I took on this assignment, and I was like, okay, now I know what everyone's getting for Christmas. Because we are in, at least what we believe is, in our family, it has to be, I'm not going to give you socks. I'm not going to give you a gift card. It needs to be of value. And I feel that I'm so glad that I'm having this honor of having this conversation, sharing this with you, because you are putting your money where your mouth is. You are using the gifts that God gave you to change the world, not just talk crap about like, we're falling apart. Sorry, guys. Good luck. Good luck. You know, I'll be dead by the time it all comes to fruition. You're making a change with what you're doing through your voice, through your stories, through your gifts and your heart. Not just you, but your family. Like, you know, I want to say thank you. January 12th is your next event in Florida, correct?
And then after that, I'm going to be down at the Heritage Museum, the Military Heritage Museum in Punta Gorda, Florida on the 25th. And then My Warrior's Place in Apollo Beach on March 1st. Those are some of the few that we have just going into next year. We're obviously booking in more. Again, people are looking for entertainment, opening ceremonies, give me a call, DaveBrayUSA.com.
Entertainment with a purpose that will change the life. I always think that is what makes an event. When you walk away and you're like, it enhances the mission that you are trying to do. So everybody, check out DaveBrayUSA.com. Did I get that right?
Yep, that's right.
Man, I love when I'm on fire. Just the little things that make me happy. And check out the apparel, get your CDs, grab them in bulk, spread the word, because it isn't just one person. It takes the collaboration of everybody doing their little part to make a change. And if we sit back and do nothing, nothing is what we will get. And that is not why we were put on this earth.